Good evening, welcome to the Safety and Sports Grounds Subcommittee. I'm Councillor Thomas, I'm the chair of the committee. I'm joined on my left by Councillor Baskerville and Councillor Holden, members of Legal, Environmental and Regulatory, and esteemed guests from United in Lancashire. We'll get underway with the agenda. I'm not aware of any apologies. I'm also unaware of any questions from members of the public. So we'll move straight on to item 3 on the agenda, which is annual safety report from Lancashire Cricket Club. We've all had the report out and we've all looked at it. If you'd like to surmise, and we'll move on to the subcommittee report. The reason there are no minutes is due to the length of time between. So we have some here, but we're going to get them brought back to a committee at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just do
Let's try that. Yeah. I'll just do a quick introduction. I became operations director last year, and a few notable changes over the years. As you'll have seen, we've had a 100-bedroom extension that opened last year. Proved challenging and demanding for all of us, but I just wanted to say thank you to colleagues and agencies who assisted in that process, as well as the varying events that we had through 2023. One of the other additions to the calendar since previous years was the addition of the 100-ball competition. So that has added 4 what we call major events into our calendar. Thank you, Chair, for mentioning that everyone's had the report, so we'd be happy to field any questions, and I'll hand over to my colleague just to take us through a précis of the report.
Yeah, hello, Chair, colleagues. My name's Steve Neal. I'm the Head of Security and Safety for Lancashire Cricket. I'm just going to pick out some highlights of last season, and then happy to take some questions. First thing is to inform the committee that we have now successfully got our safety officer, 2 deputy safety officers and head steward through relevant qualifications. Over the past number of seasons, the cricket club has operated with safety officers who were working towards their level 4 qualification. So we're now happy to announce that our safety officer has achieved his level 4 qualification. The 2 match day safety officers have also achieved their level 4 qualification, and the head steward has achieved his level 3 qualification, and I sit above them with a level 4 qualification and a level 5 in crowd safety management and a NEBOSH general certificate. So the reason for that update, Chair, is to give the committee some confidence that the cricket club has moved forward significantly with regards to the training of its safety management team for match days. To pick out some other highlights, firstly, if we could talk about the concerts that we had. Under my direction, a significant review of some key factors of the concerts, particularly the ingress model, the circulation, the egress and the dispersal. There was enhanced safeguarding operation based on previous matters, which I believe the committee are aware of. And we also ensured that we were fully compliant with the licensing conditions that had been set for us by the council. Feedback from the promoter and also from key stakeholders was very positive in terms of how those concerts went, so we're very pleased with that. And the invitations for the 2024 concert subgroups that are run by the cricket club will be going out this week, so we're well ahead of where we want to be in relation to the planning for the 2024 concerts. I'd like to turn to the events of the 7th of July last year, which is a matter of record on the council's report. This was a short notice quarter final of the T20 fixture held at the cricket club. It was a notice of 1 week. On the evening of the 7th of July, there were other competing events throughout the region, including horse racing, rugby league and the Ashes at Headingley. We did inquire with our agency provider if they were able to supply qualified staff, and we assured that they weren't. Ultimately, the test event of the hotel itself and the new hospitality area went well. However, the council in their inspection identified a number of unqualified stewards that were on positions deemed safety critical. That was reported back to the cricket club, and we took that up with the relevant supplier and then instigated new procedures in the run up to the Ashes. think the committee are aware that there's an emergency safety advisory group held the day before the first day of the Ashes. I think it's fair to say that it was a particularly challenging time for the cricket club in terms of bringing in new processes to ensure that we were compliant with the SGA Sports Ground Safety Authority guidance, which had come out in June of last year. Revised processes were put in place, which includes now that we only request trained staff from our agency providers. We won't accept people who are working towards their qualification. This will prove somewhat challenging for the providers, but also for the industry generally. However, we're in a position now where we have to be absolutely certain that when we're putting a steward on a safety critical position that they are qualified. We have a detailed check-in process which has been verified by colleagues from the council, which involves wristbanding of qualified level 2 stewards and wristbanding of qualified SIA staff. There's then a very detailed check-in process with a stand manager, wristband checks, and then head steward does a quality assurance of those positions, and a form is then brought up to the safety officer and match control. We're pleased to report that club stewards in levels have increased. We're at a region of about 90 stewards, a number of supervisors, and we're about to embark another 7 of our stewards on a level 3 supervisors course, so that is going well from that perspective. Just to highlight in terms of Ashes Day 1, the council identified during their inspection a small number of stewards who were on safety critical positions who weren't qualified. I'll not go into the details of how they arrived in those positions, but the council are aware that it was an isolated incident. Immediate measures were put in place on day 1 of the Ashes. Day 2 of the Ashes saw a no-notice inspection by colleagues from the council, which was to their satisfaction. So the measures we put in place had been successful. Those measures continued throughout the season and will continue into this season. And we're very, very confident in terms of ensuring that qualified stewards are on safety critical positions. Turning to a key area of medical, the committee will be aware that the club has had some issues with its medical supplier in previous years. I'm happy to announce that last year we moved to a different medical provider, and we're now contracted with a company called Cypher Medical, who have a well-established CV across the country, and in fact the medical provider for the Football Association whenever England play within the UK. We've established a medical advisory group, one of the few premises in the country to do so, and we sit under an independent chair for that process, and that gets right down into the detail of what types of beds we have in the first aid room, etc., etc. We also had a self-initiated no-notice inspection carried out by an esteemed professional in the area, which gave very positive feedback in a number of areas that we can improve upon. We've also submitted last year an upgraded medical plan for the operations manual, and we will ensure that the ops manual contains the upgraded version for 2024. It's an area that we've made significant positive progress in. So overall, there's other areas I could talk about, but I don't want to take up too much of the committee's time. In summary, as is well known, there has been some challenges for the cricket clubs since 2021. However, last year we made significant progress despite 1 or 2 little hiccups. And I'm happy to report to the committee that, going back to where I started, is that the investment that we've put into our staff in achieving their level 4 and their level 3 qualifications should hopefully underline the commitment that the cricket club has made to improving safety at the venue. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any of my colleagues have any questions? No?
I have one.
Should note that by now. Sorry about that. A very general question here. You pointed out to us that the short notice T20 quarter-final was not only short notice, it happened during what the BBC would call the Festival of Sport in the north of England. Do the powers that be in Lords or wherever they reside these days appreciate that that sort of problem is like it might arise if they simply present you with a quarter-final to be played at very short notice, and clearly they didn't consider any of the implications of what else was going on from Headingley through to Haydon?
Thank you for your question. I think the answer is no. And I think, in fairness to Lords, is trying to manage the calendars across the entire country of so many moving different parts would prove almost impossible. As I said, there was rugby league, there was horse racing. I believe there was something happening at Manchester United as well, and there was Headingley happening. I think the lesson we learned from that is two things. Is one is to widen the number of agencies that we're contracted with, that we utilise, which we have done. And then secondly, as we have learned, is to check what we're being told is actually accurate and true. We were made certain promises and we were let down. The council established that we had that shortfall. So that's why we've gone into such detailed measures that we do for checking and registration. And as I said, we now no longer will accept staff who are working towards their qualification from an agency. We will only accept staff who are qualified. The wider sector challenges of stewarding by agencies is something that they need to address in terms of making sure that people have completed their qualification. There is quite a lot of contact time when somebody starts on a level 2 qualification, but the history in the business has been that nobody ever completed it because it was never really checked. The fact that council colleagues do check it mean that we're now more focused on ensuring that they deliver as qualified stewards. So, as I said, Lords will do what Lords do. We just have to react better. And I said we've learned some lessons fairly quickly last year.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you. And just as a general comment, I'm aware of the events of last year regarding what we just discussed. I sit on the licensing committee. Unfortunately, I wasn't available at the time it came through, but it's very good to see the willingness of working with officers in the council in ensuring the safety of people that visit your ground is tantamount to us, and it's obvious that it's tantamount to you too. So thank you for that. Agenda item number 4, the comms.
Excuse me. So, since 2020, there's been a number of safety advisory group meetings take place in relation to Lancashire County Cricket Club. Don't particularly intend to go through them all in detail. The details are contained in the pack in front. Just kind of give a bit of an overview. In 2020, SAGs took place just to allow the fixtures to take place behind closed doors for international fixtures. In 2021, safety advisory group meetings took place in relation to the club being allowed to admit spectators back into ground. There was an issue that was identified in 2021 in relation to steward qualifications, and there's a lot of work that took place between the club and the council to ensure that all the required works were done to resolve that, which meant by the international fixture on the 19th of July, the club was able to have full capacity within the ground. In 2022, again, a number of fixtures took place, safety advisory groups took place. Some of the difference this time is that it also covered planning for the concerts as well. In that year, there was 4 concerts that took place. Just in relation to the concert planning, one thing just to kind of explain a bit is at the end of the planning process, the council's is in the position to kind of issue an agreement in principle for the special safety certificate to be issued. And the reason why an agreement in principle is given and not the actual safety certificate is because we need all the relevant structural sign-offs and everything once the event has been built. So that's why generally special safety certificates are issued quite close to gates opening when all those safety checks have been carried out. Again, similar events took place in 2023 as well, planning for spectator cricket fixtures and concerts at Lancashire County Cricket Club. A lot of the detail kind of contained in the report has already been covered by Steve, so there's not really much need for me to go through that. But if there's any questions, then obviously I'm happy to take some on that. I think just one thing just to kind of expand on something Steve had said is in relation to the Ashes fixture on the first day inspection. Obviously, we were there, we checked the check-in process and how all that worked. So although stewards were found in safety critical roles without the necessary qualifications, as part of verifying that signing process, what we did know is that there was a suitable number of stewards available who had the relevant qualifications. And so the club were very quickly able to sort out redeployments, which when we did checks again that afternoon, we were satisfied that that had all been done. The no-notice inspection the next day confirmed that the procedures put in the afternoon on day one were still being implemented. There's probably not really much else for me to say unless anybody's got any questions.
Colleagues?
Yeah, so I guess it's one for both. Thank you for that kind of reassurance. There were the required number of qualified stewards in location. Kind of sounds as if it was almost kind of a processing issue. If they were the required in the location, how did it come about that they weren't in the correct position?
So, after observing the check-in process and watching the briefings, we then, after stewards had been deployed, we went around the various stands questioning stewards on the qualifications and everything. Because of the wristband system that had been put in place, it was quite easy to identify quite quickly that kind of what stewards were there, what level of training qualification they have. And it's by that process of going around of asking in quite a few of the stands what qualifications everybody's got, and looking at the wristbands, we picked up on that. So then we didn't cover all of the stands as part of that check. We'd kind of got to the point where I thought, right, we need to report this through to Steve in Stadium Control, which we did. And then when we did the kind of the follow-up visit in the afternoon after the redeployments had taken place, we rechecked some of the areas where we found issues, but then we also went into stands where we hadn't been to make sure that they'd just not been moved into a different area, so to speak. So we're able to verify that actually yes, everybody on position that we spoke to had the relevant qualifications required.
And sorry, so moving forward, if you had the required number there on that occasion, they were in the correct position. How are we ensuring that error won't happen again? What have been put in place?
Yeah, I mean, it may be one for the club to answer. I think just from our side, kind of as part of that, we've had quite a lot of discussions with the club, kind of prior to the emergency safety advisory meeting taking place as well. We did have quite a few kind of informal meetings to discuss all the procedures. So, the club were able to put over to us that the procedures were there. So I think I'd probably hand over to Steve at this point on the rest.
Yeah, thank you. So it involved 4 stewards had all travelled to the venue in the same car, who then said that they were all qualified to the stand manager, who didn't check that they had the wristband. So that was the process issue, which then was identified. And then, as council colleagues have said, we had enough qualified staff. We just needed to move them around. How we've addressed that is there's now a registration form for the stand manager. So the stand manager now has to check the wristband, check the name, and also the jacket or tabard number that the steward has been issued with. And then there's a series of questions in the registration form to ensure that they've been adequately briefed. And then that's quality assured by the head steward, so actually checks the forms, etc., which are then again documented. So we've got double documentation around that. So that's how we've addressed the issue, as you heard me allude to there, in terms of we're putting at least 7 of our staff through a supervisors course this year, and the ultimate goal is to have our own stand managers. So at the minute we have to give that position to agency staff, and I'd much rather have our own staff doing that. So then we're absolutely sure that they're doing the registration process with the greatest level of diligence. Hopefully that will explain in some detail the answer to your question, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you. And reassuring to hear that you're training up your staff more and bringing more in-house. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And from our point of view, the work the advisory group does is extremely important in providing what we do for the attendees. So thank you for that. And the fact again that errors were made, errors were pointed out, and we're aware that there has been some press over it, but we deal with it in a proper way with communication and consultation to get to the right area, and it's good to see that this is happening. Okay, thank you very much. On to agenda item number 5, which is over to Manchester United representatives. If you'd like to do the same.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the opportunity to present this evening. The committee have had the full report through, so my intention, as per our colleagues from Lancs, will be to do a summation and then obviously field any questions that you may have. So the review submitted runs from the period of 6th of July 22 to the 19th of June, relating to the 22-23 season. It's safe to say it was an extremely challenging season, which included the mid-season break to accommodate the World Cup in Qatar. And we had a number of fixtures across various competitions, which led to a high number of fixtures, 43 in fact, which consisted of 19 Premier League, Women's Super League games. We had the UEFA Europa League fixtures. We also had the Rugby Super League final, the Rugby League World Cup double-header with both games played, Soccer Aid, and also we're very proud to host the England Women's Euros opening match at the stadium. But it did lead to a very, very busy season for the club. From a safety management point of view, as we've said, a result of the break in the fixture calendar, the season was very congested, both pre and post World Cup, not aided by the fact that we seemed to progress to every home draw we could do for the season. So it was very busy for us, and a lot of planning and a lot of assistance from TNPC and our multi-agency partners. So throughout the season, we continued with digital ticketing in the home areas, and also moving forward, we're looking at rolling that out to the away fans as well. That's gone very well during the season in question. The stadium continued to be cashless following the COVID pandemic through the season, and now that's fully embedded in all our working practices. We had a successful trial of safe standing area during the previous season. So we were licensed for this season in relation to 2,150 positions that were within the stadium. And also during the break for the World Cup, we further expanded our safe standing to areas of the away section, increasing it by 1,800, which has gone very well. The barrier seating has been successful, and in addition to domestic fixtures, UEFA also trialled safe standing areas as part of their competition, which led to us being visited by a safe standing observer on behalf of UEFA, and due to the success of that trial, it's continued from that point. For this season, we also saw the introduction of Premier League safety and security delegates who attend each home fixture, and in addition to any other audit that we now have a report submitted following every Premier League fixture, which gives feedback on the safety and security operation and management and the effectiveness of that, which is available to colleagues in the council to view. For the high-risk fixtures during the season, we continued the use of erecting steel fencing and screening outside the away turnstiles, and also the option of erecting netting in front of the away supporters, which was deemed as a step forward in relation to ensuring the safe access and egress of the fans for the fixtures. As mentioned in the report, we did see protest activity due to anti-owner sentiment, which started in earnest at the Brighton fixture, continued through the next two Premier League fixtures against Liverpool and Arsenal, with the largest activity being seen at the Liverpool fixture. During these protests, there were issues of disorder, there were issues of pyrotechnic activation, but we worked closely with our colleagues within the police and also liaising with Trafford Council in relation to ensuring that we had sufficient policies, procedures and effective mechanisms to manage any protests that took place within our footprint. In relation to policing, we retain the gold, silver, bronze command structure, and we ensure that we have a lead planner who attends all the silver meetings, and we also have hot debriefs with the police following every event to ensure that we capture anything that we need to improve on going forward. In relation to security, the major project that was completed during this time was the HVM bollards, which has assisted in our outer perimeter for HVM attacks. And also, it's important to note that this season saw the return of full body screening for our supporters at the stadium following the restrictions that had been in place during COVID. So we are now back to pre-COVID conditions in relation to searching and security screening. We continue to ensure all our staff undergo the counter-terrorism awareness courses and mandatory training to make sure that our staff are as well prepared as they can be for any eventuality. And the stadium control room continues to operate on a 24/7 basis with staff that are skillfully trained to detect, identify and react to any ongoing safety and security issues 24/7. In relation to our governance, as mentioned, we work closely with GMP and colleagues from the council, and we ensure that we host any inspections either planned or ad hoc, and we've had visits from the SAG committee members on several occasions during the season with no major issues identified. Medically, we've reviewed the medical team and the medical plan throughout the season, and it's still working extremely well under the direction of our lead doctor. That medical plan has been reviewed post-season and it improved going forward, just to build on all the good work that we've done. One of the major improvements on the medical plan during this season that falls within the report was the introduction of the public access trauma kits throughout the stadium, which fell at the recommendations from the Manchester Arena attack. And that, along with that, was a period of education for staff as well in relation to treatment of casualties and what those packs are for. In relation to the wider operation, the safeguarding team continued to work at Manchester United, and the operation during the period of this report saw a recruitment period where we recruited and further increased our pool of safeguarding professionals to ensure that the operation is in place on match day and continues to lead the way in relation to safeguarding operations at sporting stadia. During the season, we receive a number of complaints, but all complaints are properly recorded and dealt with in relation to our sanctioning policy. And in addition to that, we continue to use the virtual steward texting system, which runs on match days for anonymous reporting of any issues that supporters may see whilst they're at the stadium. That, Chair, concludes the summation of the report, but I'm happy to field any questions that you may have on its contents.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Do we have any questions? No? Thank you very much. We'll move on to the subcommittee report on the council.
As we've done previously, I don't intend to go back fully to 2020, which is what the report covers. I will start just summarising the report from September 2022. So we hold approximately 3 safety advisory group meetings each year for Manchester United, and that's due mainly to the number of fixtures. We try and tackle it by a 3-month period. To have a look at that. The safety advisory group comprises of the police, North West Ambulance Service, Fire Service, TFGM. So everybody is on that meeting. The September 2022 one focused on looking at safe standing and I think the introduction of more rail seating and safe standing areas within the stadium. We undertook a number of match day visits to the stadium to check on compliance with persistent standing and other such things. The community safety team at Trafford have also been doing some work in relation to urination on the streets around on a match day. I think some work's been carried out in conjunction with Manchester United to provide toilet facilities to try and reduce the nuisance which is caused by that. In July 2023, we had an update of what had happened with the season just gone, which is what John's just covered now. And then we saw a look forward to this season, which showed an increased number of fixtures likely to be held at the stadium, to include Women's Super League fixtures and some academy games as well. We're provided with updates on stewarding, recruitment audits and retention, as well as some changes which have been made to the medical provision within the stadium on a match day. We have carried out audits on the physical factors of safety at the stadium, as well as safety factors, and we're still working with the club to sort of bring those to a conclusion during this season. And that's about it, really, I think.
Any questions from John? I've just got a couple of things I'd just like to add out. I'm going a little back to 2021, where the ambulance service were concerned somewhat with the radios in some part of the stadium, which I'm sure with the fabric of the stadium can cause a problem. I wonder if that has been resolved.
We just worth mentioning that obviously we also have a MAG process.
This was raised in the MAG process, so it was looked at the time, it was examined at the time. We worked with NWAS in relation to putting effective working practices in to make sure that the radio system wasn't compromised on a match day for the operational efficiency. We have worked with NWAS and Motorola since then. There are still 2 spots within the stadium that are affected. But at this present moment in time, there's no long-term solution. However, there is a separate SAG in the next couple of weeks in relation to any potential issues that may cause, and that to assure the SAG that we have sufficient workarounds in place.
Thank you for that. But obviously, with the tragic events recently at the Bolton game, it's quite an important thing. And having been on the tour of your security, the box, and in a steward briefing, I know that it is for the club as well. Just also for the environment.
Sorry, could I just come in there?
Yes, certainly.
From MWAS. Just to add to the work that we've done with Motorola around the club themselves, pre-match we share all the intelligence with our staff and all the medical providers that are there, so just back up the work that's been done. There's been installation of additional hardware in the control room, which is a base set that's hardwired with an additional aerial and improves the communications. So although we do still experience some problems, they have improved drastically since the original concern.
Okay. That's great. And like I said, in the lead-in, the fabric of the stadium isn't conducive to radio communications, and nothing you can do about that particularly. But obviously you can. Moving forward on the environmental, although again in the reports, the additional toilet facilities have been added. There was a mention of alligators to be installed around the Course Hill area, and have they progressed, or has that become something that's not another council, ward council colleagues were looking at it?
Yeah, we receive feedback from local councillors. We meet with the local councillors quarterly, and we received feedback from residents that were experiencing some nuisance on match day. So in collaboration, we looked at it, assessed the problem, worked with the police, with the local authority, the community safety team, and we funded the installation of some alligators in close proximity to the stadium, and that's seen a total cessation of complaints. In addition, we've put in place additional temporary toilets on our footprint in and around match day, because we recognise there's an absence of any public toilets in the public realm in and around the stadium.
Thank you. I'm aware of the quarterly meetings you have, and I know that they're very well received by the councillors. Sorry, Amy.
Chair, I was just going to confirm that what you said, that's been there's been that very close collaborative working with the community safety team, and certainly the Greater Manchester Police and the Empress team have been very mindful of this issue. So a case of, I think, joint working between the club, the council in terms of our community safety responsibilities, and also GMP alongside the physical works, and that does, as Jim has just described, that does seem to have done the trick.
Again, from conversations with ward colleagues, and since I joined the council, I'm aware that there's a lot tighter bond between the council and yourselves and the ward councillors, and I know it's appreciated. And I think that's me. We've covered the stewards. Yeah, that's me. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. We'll move on to the final agenda item, which is if there's any other business. I'm not aware of any. No? Okay, thank you very much for your attendance. I'll call the meeting to a close.